Next up, I'm going to cover the draw. And first off, for me personally, what really makes or breaks the draw for me is my initial contact with the gun, the web of my hand and where it hits the pistol. I want to come up and I want to hit that pistol as high as possible because that's going to transform into a good grip. So I want to come up as high as possible without obviously not hanging up on the gun, but right up about in here, come down on the gun. That's going to, again, lock me in a position where I talked about having a really high grip. Both of my sides of my hands are touching the gun. If I come into really low, like down here, like this, which happens at times in a match or whatnot, I'll still go through with it, but my grip won't be as good. As you can see, I mean, I'm just not quite as high there. And I can feel that in the gun in actually shooting. So it's very critical. I try to hit my draw. And it's awkward because sometimes you have different positions. You know, you're not always just standing like this. Sometimes you're moving as you're starting. Sometimes you're crouched over, touching something on the ground, and the gun's in all different positions. So that's first off what's very important for me. As far as actually standing on a standard type course and drawing, the one thing to focus on is we want to do everything with our hands. I don't want anything else to move. So I want to get in position, and when I draw, I want just my hands and my arms. That's all that moves. I don't want to drop my head or have to twist up like this or move anything else unnecessarily. And a good way to practice that obviously is just to get into position, point the gun as you're going to shoot it, and then holster it, and don't move anything obviously other than your hands. So that's pretty crucial. The other thing is getting into your grip. We already talked about the grip. And it's easy for somebody to look at, say, my grip or whatnot and mimic it and put their hands in it. But it's an entirely another thing to actually draw and get that grip. And what I do, the position of my hands and how I get into that, I'll explain here. When I start, obviously, say I'm starting from a hands down position, buzzer goes off, this hand obviously comes right towards the gun, and I tend to come down somewhat aggressive because I want to get a good web of my hand contact point there. My weak hand comes up about into here because I need to meet that gun right in here. I can't get the grip that I get just by slapping it on clear out here. I need to meet right here. That's initial contact right there is just exactly how it is when I'm shooting. And I roll my grip into the gun and really grind it. You almost, when you watch me, it almost be like a little hitch right here. And that's me just grinding my grip into that. It may be a little slow at times. It may cost me, a tenth or even 2/10 of a second, but I've got that grip, for all the shots I'm going to shoot in that course, and it's going to benefit me there. It's just something, and I can't really demonstrate it or put it in any better words than that. It's something that takes a lot of practice. Just practicing, getting the initial contact point, rolling out, and that's how I get further out on the gun as I'm coming up, rolling out into the grip, and getting locked out just like that. Okay, I just covered the draw. Another thing I want to mention here is when you're drawing to a certain target, you want to have your draw speed be the same every time as much as possible. So what I've got here is I'm going to draw to 3 different targets. I've got them at 7 yards, 15 yards, and 25 yards. And I'm going to do 3 separate draws, one at each distance. I'm going to time this with my timer here. And what I'm looking for is about the same draw speed. And you're going to see the speed decrease as the targets get farther. But the reason for that decrease is not from drawing slower. It's going to be from taking my time on my sights and my trigger in order to get the same hits at further distance. So just to give you a feel what it looks like here. So 7 yards. Okay. That was a 1.2, was a 1.0102 draw, I'm sorry, with a 18 split. Go down to the second target here at 15. And again, I may back off just a little bit on the draw, but the time difference here is going to be spent once the gun comes up, and it's going to be spent on my sights and my trigger on the target. So here I go at 15. Okay. That was a 1.21 draw, so about 2/10 of a second slower. Draw was similar, but it was just took a little more time out there to verify where I'm at. Now for the 25-yard target. I have to back off just a little bit more here. Okay. and that was a 1.39, so about another 0.2. So I gained about 0.2 of a second going out to each target. The draw was similar, but I'm spending more of my time on my sights and my trigger, and that's where I need to spend them in order to get the hits, and they're all pretty good hits.
Pantio.